Welcome to the world of Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's brutal. That and all around not a good place for someone who, well, like this.
It hurts. You won't stop bleeding.
But we have a dream to become the greatest knight who ever lived. Well, why don't we start by escaping a raid by foreign invaders on our small town, giving us severe post-traumatic stress disorder and a taste for blood.
No use begging. I'll give no quarter to filthy murdering heathens. This door!
Yeah, that'd do it.
Now get up quick. Your breakfast is on the table.
The game starts you off with your mother, who looks young enough to be your sister, waking up the main character, Henry. She tells him to wake up and to talk to his dad because they're forging a sword for the Lord of Skalitz, Sir Radzig. Sir Radzig is basically a knight who is close personal friends with the King of Bohemia at the time, Wenceslaus IV. And within moments, an army of humans come to the small town of Skalitz, killing its inhabitants. But why? So KCD is steeped in a lot of historical lore, and you'll feel a bit lost if you aren't familiar with a lot of 15th century Chetnian history. The game gives a 3-minute introduction of the overall information of the main focus and story of the game, but again, it's filled with names no one's ever heard of in a part of the world that no one really talks about historically. It's like going up to an uncontacted tribe and trying to tell them about Columbus. It just doesn't compute. Okay, so the game takes place in 1403 Bohemia, modern-day Czech Republic. The game intro tells the story of Charles IV, the King of Bohemia, who was crowned the Holy Roman Emperor in 1355. He was known to be a good ruler, solving most of his problems with diplomat. I don't know how to say it. Diplomatic. I think it's... No. Solving problems with diplomacy. This guy, Charles IV, was the Holy Roman Emperor, and he secured power for his son, Wenceslaus, who became Holy Roman Emperor in, I think, 1386 or something. But unlike his father, he wasn't as good of a ruler, and you can hear a lot of opinions about him. Just that, basically, Wenceslaus might not be as good as his father, but he's still the king, while others think that, they should have a revolution, and then they should have a new king, which is his brother Sigismund. Basically, why there's a civil war happening in Bohemia right now. Soon after Skalitz is attacked, you must escape and get to the neighboring garrison in the town of Temberg to warn them about the upcoming Cuban attack. And then I wrote this whole long thing about who the Cubans are. But basically they're a migrating Nordic people, originally from Asia, who came to Hungary. And now they work for Sigismund, basically. Don't want to go into too much of the history lesson. Maybe I'll do a different video about it because I thought it was kind of interesting. But enough of the history lesson. So after Skalitz is attacked, you have the Townburg, where you seek refuge from the Lord of Townburg himself, Sir Divish of Townburg. He tells you not to worry and to get some food and rest, and to go to your room. You are met with the lady of the house, Stefan of Townburg. She's bored and she has no one she finds interesting is around her own age, so she wants to talk to you about the attack that happened at Skalitz. You have a nice chat with her, then she leaves and you go to sleep.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Wake up. You don't want to miss this.
Soon, you're waking up in the middle of the night by some soldiers told to come to the front gate, where you are met by Sir Radzig and the other refugees who escaped Skalitz. He tells them that they're cold and scared after the raid, and that Sir Radzig is going to take them over at Ratai, and tells Divish and his garrison to keep Henry there and don't let him escape. Henry escapes. But not before we get a look at that bald fuck who murdered our parents right in front of us. Mark von Ali. I think it was Aliwitz or something. He and the rest of his army, led by Sigismund, come to search for Radzig, who we know is the head of Ratai, and also wants to make sure that Divish is loyal and on their side. Divish wants to stay neutral, at least on paper, and doesn't want his people to get caught up in the conflict. Markvar goes back and relays a message to Sigismund. He and his troops then leave. Soon after, Henry gets the crazy idea to go back to Scouts to bury his parents, in which the soldiers tell him that's a crazy idea, and that even if he could go back, there's no priest there, and that no priest would touch that place with 10-foot pole, and it would be on consecrated ground, so your parents would just end up in purgatory. Which I gotta call out here for a second, because I don't know if this is similar to current Christian lore or just Christendom mythology in general, but I would assume that the big guy upstairs would just be like, if their souls died because of a raid, because of a foreign invader on their home, that no one would reasonably be going there, and their souls would go to just wherever the souls go during Judgment Day. But I feel like I'm rambling. Let's get back to the story. So they tell him no, that even if he could go there are humans in the area, bandits, and other ne'er-do-wells that still may be lurking about. Henry doesn't care and then seeks to leave the castle. Basically, you can do this in a few ways, but the easiest is to just jump down the drawbridge, run for the fucking hills, and then reach the next cutscene. You can also steal a horse, but that requires you to linger around longer than you actually want to. And if you're caught, then you're immediately just stopped and brought back to the castle.
Gotcha!
The perfect scenario would be just to grab some iron from the garrison, find a horse in town, get the fuck out of there. This teaches you the disguise system in the game. You'll still be noticed and questioned if you're like acting weird, or that you just linger around for like too long. Which is a big problem when we get to like the human cab scene at the end of Act 1, which I have a lot of complaints about. But for the most part, you keep your head down, you keep some distance, you'll be alright. You go back to Skeleton to bury your parents, and you're stopped by a group of bandits who take the last sword your father ever made. You're saved by your friend and I think love interest in the game, Teresa. You two are called off to Rattaya, where we meet figures like Hans Capon and Sir Hanish of, I think it's Lepika or something, I don't know. I didn't write it down, so I just put Hanish. But I think when I was looking at it, it said Sir Lavish of Lepika or something. But yeah. You're put in you're like put in the service of Sir Radzik, and then the game pretty much starts from there. But we'll just go on with the story because like it's pretty small, and it's still pretty linear. So, as most people know who talk about Kingdom Come Deliverance or know Kingdom Come Deliverance, the start of the game is probably the most brutal part. It's one of those games where it's like you really suck in the beginning, you don't know what you're doing, and then by the end you're a bona fide fucking killing machine, and you're just like slaughtering 5-6 enemies at a time. You're fucking killing dogs, you're killing babies, just anything in your way. You don't care anymore. It's one of those games where you gotta work up to it. At the start of the game, you can't perform any blocks or parries, and you don't know any combos or anything like that. In the beginning, the parts are spent hitting people pretty much like this. Hoping you can kill them before they eventually just kill you. So we learn the basics of swordplay and archery, which will be a small tutorial on in the next mission. When we become a watchman for under the surface of the Bailiff, in which we get a couple of encounters with the future Lord of Rattaya, Hans Campion. Henry gets into a fight with Hans. After that, Hanish orders him to be put on the service of Hans and accompany him wherever he's going, which is like a hunting trip that we go on the next day, where we hunt like hares, which are rabbits. I think this is British, so they're hares in this game. Or European, to be more specific, but they have British accents. We saved Hans from some humans in the area who were scouting around, I guess. Then we're given a promotion and a new task. There was a recent murder in this town called Neuenhoft, and you're tasked with just figuring out what happened, pretty much just shattering, seeing what happened, seeing what you can dig up. This is the message structure that shows you what you'll be doing throughout most of the game. Henry will go into town, talk to the locals. 1 or 2 of them will put you in a couple of places, and most of them are just triangulating where you need to, who you need to talk to or where to go. The question pretty nice and creative, and I've seen some of the side missions that kind of like open up, and even the final mission in Act 1 opens up to where you're able to do things in more creative ways, and you're able to kind of just solve most things without usually using a guide. Kind of just need to walk around town, figure things out, talk to a couple people, figure out, basically the game will give you a few indications of where you need to go, and based on that, you need to triangulate the location of where you need to go, basically.
A few questions?
Of course. Ask away.
In this first mission, we talked to a lady holding her dead husband named Zora, and her stable hands, Jakob and Mark. They'll tell you about the same story. The bandits came at night, started killing everybody. This made some of the bandits unsettled, so they started fighting amongst themselves, and the remaining bandits fled into the woods. So we go push into the woods and try to find them. KCD takes this realistic approach to the game where you actually have to, when you're searching for them, you actually have to search for them. So basically there's no marker tell you where they are, or there's no I don't know, like in the Witcher sense or something like that. You actually just have to figure out where they went. Which I hope is improved in KCD too. But it's pretty good in the system. Basically, you can hear where they are as they're having a conversation. The conversation's kind of echoing through the woods, so you can just hear it. So you can, as you get closer, their voices get louder. So you can pretty much just, it's easy to figure out where they are.
Brought those other fellows here. Fucking greenhorns. One kill that ginger brat from the farm, and then they slice you up. We'll find those bastards, and I'll send them straight to hell myself.
One of the bandits is dying or dead, depending on when you find him, and he will fight, and you have to fight this one guy who's still alive, which I constantly died at, so I ended up finally successfully managed to sneak around and knock him out once I reloaded the save enough times, which took me so fucking long, dude. We pick up a hoof pick off the previous dead bandit, then we go and ask anyone. Everyone points us to another stable hand named Ginger, who ran off while we were here. I saw in somebody else's video that we could actually question Ginger and trail them to its hiding spot, but I didn't know that until after I did the mission. So basically we asked around Ginger, and they tell us that he was acting a little strange after the raid and everything. Not too long, he becomes one of our suspects. So we chase after Ginger, and this is kind of where I cheated a bit, because I've played this game probably like 2 or 3 times, and I've never beaten it. I've only ever just made it to the Father Godwin section. But this is the one part I know I hated the most when I got to this part of the game. Because normally the way you do this quest is you gotta go to the millers on a set of miller camps on the other side of it. And then basically they tell you, oh yeah, we kind of know that guy, but like these guys on the other side, closer where you were before, are actually friends with him, so actually they might know where he is and may have hit him themselves. So you go there, they tell you, oh yeah, we probably saw him, but we're not going to tell you where he is. And you're like, well, can you just tell me where he is? And I need to ask him about the murders. And you're like, fine. If you go kill these 2 guys, we'll tell you where he is. And you're like, okay, where are they? I don't know, go find them, retard. And you're like, alright. So you go try to find the bandits, which are in the same area Ginger is hiding. They're in the same area that Ginger's hiding. So you could just lie and say you killed them. But it's unless you're being outwardly malicious towards the bandits, you might as well just kill them and go over to where Ginger is. So you tell them where Ginger is. They tell you he's in this area, northeast in the woods somewhere. And pretty much where they are is in the same location you were just at. He's literally down the trail. You literally just walk down and you can see the hut. So it's a lot easier to kill the bandits, walk over to Ginger, tell Ginger you killed the bandits, and then, or even if you haven't killed the bandits yet because you didn't see them, just tell them you will kill the bandits. They're literally in the same area. Like I said, I cheated. But I also, to be fair, I had spotted the hut that Ginger would eventually hide in earlier in the game when you're hunting hare with Capion, and I kind of just marked it in my head but forgot where it was. I knew it was in the area where you hunted, but I didn't know, so I just looked it up on YouTube, and then just did the thing. So I just looked it up on YouTube, and yeah, same area. So you go and tell him, hey, I need you to tell me about the raid and went off. And he tells you that for the raid, he heard the bandits coming into town, and he hid the entire time in the barn instead of trying to help because he was afraid that he'd get killed. While in the process, he overheard the 2 bandits fighting with the other group of bandits. I think it was actually 3. While in the process, he overheard 2 other bandits fighting with the other group of bandits, and that one of them had a limp, and that when everything got too intense, they ended up running. And that he ran because he was afraid when they'd hear that what he had did during the raid, they'd probably just kill him. The stable hand. Henry sympathizes with him, seeing an earlier version of himself, and tells him to go back, and he'll talk to everyone at the stables to cool them down. We go back and run into Sir Rats. We debrief him on the situation, then talking to the stable hands, and after we talk to the stable hands, we're off to Auschwitz to find a bandit that walked in with a limp. We've been talking about the main quest for a while, so I'm going to get to the side quests. Even though I haven't completed all of them by the time I had written this, and I think I'll just do an actual dedicated side quest thing in the second video, because that's the last one I have to do for KCA. So, basically side quests in the beginning of the game suck, but they help Henry level up, and the more you level up, the more skills he gets, and the more stronger, faster. Most of the game revolves around Henry taking on small camps of bandits, humans, just multiple enemies, pretty much by himself. You can get a dog companion, and that's cool, but it's pretty much mostly just Henry fighting like 5-6 guys. So it's probably better to level him up faster. Not to mention, the roads are stocked with bandits. So if we really want to get a handle on the combat, we have to do some side quests and level up our character a bit. Like I said, the quests in the beginning suck. So there's no use in talking about a lot of them, except for beating up the bums, because that was pretty funny. But instead of those, I found that most of them you can have enough money or enough of the item on you. I thought the one side quest with Hans, where we check on him to see how he's doing after the attack with the humans, wants to go to a bathhouse. While the actual quests suck, I will say, when we have to get the wine, that was funny because I just jacked my way through and reloaded the save until, because I didn't have because I didn't have the skill to lockpick, and if you just don't have the skill to lockpick, then you're shit out of luck. And it's a very hard lockpick. Still, 9 times out of 10, you're trying to just find a way inside the building, and there was just the guard on the side you have to wait for, and then he goes inside the building, and you have to like jank your way, sprint through, just like ram yourself in the building, and like for some reason he just never sees you, even if you have your torch on. It's just really funny. But the good part about that quest is literally just the cutscenes are fun. Like, the side quests are cool, or the cutscenes are cool. But pretty much all the early ones are pretty much fetch quests, hunting quests, and hunting quests, which are pretty much fetch quests, and pickpocketing quests. The other ones are are funner because they revolve around characters we met in the story, and we get a little bit more depth in like context in like the world. Like I'm doing one right now with the witches. The one where we have to see if the alchemist was giving the women like a spell or some shit, a potion. And that one's fun and kind of interesting. Another one of the later ones I'm doing is the one for Hanish with the heretics. And that one seems interesting. Other than that, the early quests are it's like you helping Lady Stephanie with getting a couple items for her, I think it's her sister's wedding or cousin. I think it's her cousin actually. Her cousin's wedding, which is another fetch quest, but you get a spicy ending with Stephanie at the end. And I only got into a fight with some peasants in the Hans quest, so big difference. There's also the Hand at God quest with Sir Divish, but I ended up failing it just because, like, I guess, I think it's a known bug that if you actually do the quest in the straightforward way, it breaks and you basically have to do the quest in a specific way or it's just gonna break. I think it's like because I tried to do 2 things at once, the thing didn't figure it out or some shit. But it was like, I don't know. So I'm supposed to meet I think his name is Amazor or something like that, something. He's basically the main, he's basically the captain or the main leader of the crew that is building, and he's also the culprit who has caused the murder that happened at the construction site. And you find this out when you chase one of the other guys up into the scaffolding, and he tells you after you fight him for a bit. But after you do that, you need to find the guy Amzor or something like that. You have to find them. But every time I reloaded it, the quest would just break. I would get just like an infinite loading screen, and it would just stop. So I've reloaded the save like a number of times, and then tried it in different ways, but it just didn't seem to work. So I ended up just killing the guy, just like reloading a save before we have to meet him at the scaffolding and killing him. But that then breaks the quest because we killed the quest giver. So I think I just have to reload the save at some point to see how it actually ends. But let's get back to the main story. So we're directed to the town of Utswitz, where we find the gutted corpse of Limpy Lubosh, the bandit who we were in pursuit of. We decide to take up the case because, well, no one really cares to look into it. Lubosh wasn't really liked, so anyone taking this off the bailiff's hands would be wonderful. We talked to some people. We learned that the priest is the only one who's seen him recently. Then we talked to the priest. We failed to get him to tell us, but he tells us to meet us in the tavern, telling us that he'll try to see what he can do for us. Instead, we get drunk with the priest and beat up the bailiff and his goons. Then, too hot for you too.
Shall we take a little ride of our own?
Back when I played this the first time, I had no context for priests in the Middle Ages and how they differ from priests or pastors now. But a lot of more of the added context I have gives this character, Father Simon, a bit more like I get him a little bit more. It's like these guys acted like they owned the place. They kind of did. Priests in those days were pretty much seen as ordained by God for better or for worse. So they pretty much had reign over the whole place with like unchecked amounts of power. Because, like he said,
well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can ride is me.
His education gives him a little bit more superior over everyone else, and he knows it, and he flaunts it around endlessly. But at the end of the night, the priest can't perform the sermon in the morning, so he asks Henry to do it in exchange for the information about Libosh. So, I also didn't know you could fail this. I think every time I've done this, I've pretty much just RNG'd it, or it's more likely I pick every single when I play RPGs, I pick every single choice, because I don't really think of anything else to pick, so I just pick every single choice. So I just picked every single choice 3 times, and this was the only playthrough I was trying to differ from, and I ended up just failing it 3 times because I didn't know it was an actual, there's only one way to actually get it right. So yeah, after finally passing that one, Father Simon tells you that, Lubosh told him that him and a bandit named Riki who lives in... I didn't write it down, I forgot. But basically he tells you about to go look for a bandit named Riki. And you find him in like a cave. And I think it's Lepichka, maybe. He's dying, but we can find him a little bit earlier if we find him alive. We find him. He tells us to look for a guy named Jimmy because we asked him to look for a hideout, and he says Jimmy's the only person that's actually been there. So we go off to find Jimmy, but not before.
No. Help me. Please.
You're a thief and maybe a murderer. You deserve to die in pain.
No. Leave me here. Please.
So we go to find Jimmy, who I think is like a little slow, or he's supposed to be a little slow. He gives you the location of your hideout, and to go scout it, and to go, he gives you the location of the bandit, and he gives you the location of, we go to Sir Radzik, and he tells us to go scout the area, and see if we can sabotage it in any way. Alright, so we're here. Let's talk about this disguise system, because if you don't do this in the beginning when you're escaping Talmberg, if you don't do this in the beginning when you're trying to escape from Talmberg, you don't really know how to want to do it, and that it's a system in the game at all, or really how it works. And basically it's a hidden feature until pretty much this moment, and not to mention, this is the only way to do this quest effectively. So there's a fight happening at the camp between some soldiers and some humans. It's obviously just placed there as a, oh yeah, if you don't have a human costume, you might want to get one now in pretty good condition. Because if not, you'll pretty much either be trying to get one, you'll be like trying to buy one, or just find a human somewhere and just try to kill him for his armor. I mean, if you just put, if anything, when you start the game, put it on your horse. Put some human armor on your horse, and you'll be needing it at some point. So you don't have to go on the whole rigmarole. Like I said earlier, the disguise system in the game is kind of like, I don't know if it's like hit or miss on purpose, or it's like actually like kind of bugged in some way. But the way you do the human quest revolves around the disguise system. So basically you'll walk up to some guys, and they'll be like, but they basically speak their language, and you don't know their language. So basically you're improvising on the fly. And you have two that you could pretty much do successfully, and then you're kind of done. The whole camp will just attack you, because the one guy will know you're not part of, you're not an actual human, and will actually just attack you. So you only get 2 chances to kind of just like get around, and you don't really want to blow it, because like one of the things, and this is one of the parts I genuinely hate, is that, and I hope, because hopefully it's just fixed in the second game, the same guard will question you multiple times. So it's like, you'll basically just like go, you'll get like spotted, you'll have to talk your way out, you'll only get 2 of them. And basically, or maybe if you're good in all 3, you'll get 3. But basically, you lose 1. You don't get to keep, you don't like, once you convinced them one thing, you can't just go back with the same actual like dialogue choice. So you'll basically be like, dialogue choice 1, okay. Then that guy will either come back around, or you'll run into him again, and he'll have you doing the same thing. But you've lost a thing, so you are out one of them, so you do with the second one that works. Okay, successful. And then you can run into the person again, and then you have 2 more options, and both are unsuccessful, and you'll get caught. So it's kind of defeats the purpose of the disguise system. The easiest way is to probably just go in at night and not be seen entering the camp at all until you actually get to the camp. And you have to go where people are, and it's, and you just poison their food and you get the fuck out of there. But you also see that the guy the main bandit leader, is the guy that's in charge of the bandits, and maybe even that part of the human army, because maybe they're working with the bandits. I'm not too clear on that, but you see that he's the one running the show and shit. So you go back to Sir Radzik, and he tells you to go to Talmberg, because they're gonna need some guys. Pretty much just empty out that entire castle. He's also gonna empty out Ratai's entire castle, and they're pretty much just gonna all go there and kill the bandits and kill. This is probably one of the best moments of the game I've played so far. It's a really cool segment where you and the other guys go and raid the bandit camp, and you guys just kill fucking everyone that goes through there. Well, I barely did anything. I kind of just looked at it. It looked really cool. But we plow through the bandits, then we run up to fight the bandit leader, Runt. Henry kills Runt while trying to interrogate him to find out where his sword was. And then in the end, we successfully take, I think it's Pishak. That's the name of the town they've taken over. We take over Pishak, and then we get a room at the upper castle, and life is looking pretty good for Henry right now. Way better. One of the things that's really cool is how we can see a lot of Henry's progression throughout the game so far, Going from a mere blacksmith to just a fucking bona fide killing machine. I mean, look at this guy. Look at him in the beginning of the game, and then flash forward to right now. We've come so far, and I'm kind of happy I dived into the first game before playing the second one, because now I feel like I'll have pretty much a little bit more context than I would have had before playing the second game. It really looks like this one's going to be a lot bigger and better than the first one, and I kind of want to cover it a little bit, at least my impressions, nothing too serious. And then while we've already killed a bunch of bandits, humans, and just anything else that's walked around, we still haven't had that moment where we become the greatest knight who's ever lived. So, I'll come, at some point, I'll probably come back with a part 2. I want to get my impression of 2 out, because I can do it in like 2 days. But yeah, this has been fun. See ya. Oh, by the way, I did a woman's last quest, which is about a woman's lot. It follows the story of Henry's love interest, Teresa, as she's surviving the raid in Scout. And while there's a lot of like interesting scenes that a lot of games just don't cover, the DLC was all around kind of shit, to be honest. Depending on like when you do the quest, because I played the quest like right after or right before the raid on the Pishak. On the bandit camp. So I was pretty decked out Henry at the moment, and I really just wanted to do that instead of doing a 4-hour like quest with Teresa, because they make it really underpowered and it's not really fun. While I did it, I pretty much did stealth the entire time I was there. While I had some fun, I mostly was like, okay, please just take me back to the 6 with Henry. But to be fair, while there was some fun I had in there, I was mostly just like, please just take me back to the section with Henry. But to be fair, I was doing the raid on the bandit camp after that quest, so I think that could have affected the way I thought about the DLC and just affected my mood while doing the DLC. But it still took way too long. But yeah, that's KCD. It's pretty awesome. See.
Červená se jablíčko, zahrát se nám zdálo. Můj milej nic nevidí, na něj, že se smálo. Ztratilo se jablíčko v travičce vysokej. Můj milej ho nenajde, bude ho mít jinej. Rozběhlo se jablíčko ze stráně u řeky. Můj milej ho nechytí, uplavená.